Hello everyone, it's Annette Green here. Welcome back. I am working in my weekly 2023 memory keeping planner, my vintage black full-size planner from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and almost all of the dies and things, stamps I've used in here are from Elizabeth Craft Designs. Each week I just do one page documenting my life in 2023, and can you believe it? We are already at the halfway mark for the year on week 26, because there's 52 weeks in the year, right? So this is where we left off last time. At the end of today's video, I'm going to answer a Facebook friend's question about how, like, they enjoy the weekly page thing, but how they would love to know kind of a little bit behind how I design an actual full planner, like a class, which is sort of the topic of my page this week anyway, so that ties in perfectly. So I'll talk about that at the end. Okay, so here we are on week 26 page. It's just this nice neutral page. I have all my pages pre-cut and ready, and if you want to go back and watch any of the previous week's videos, I have a full playlist, which I will link below, of course, and you can watch back any or all that you like. Okay, so I do have a plan, of course. Always have a plan before I begin here. And my week was, as I might have mentioned last week, it's a lot of work right now. If you could see my table over there. I showed a little bit of it at the end of the video last week. There are piles and piles and piles and piles of things getting ready for my class in Illinois, which is pictured right here. We're doing a planner class. And then I'm also going to document the Summer Planner Online Facebook Live class, which a lot of you already know about, have signed up for, have your kit, you're working on your homework. So this is what I have prepared all week, and another little photo. I'm just not really going to talk about a whole lot, but it is something else I worked on this week. You may be wondering, why do I have the same photo twice in two different sizes? Sometimes I do that because I was having an idea of using hexagons for my photo shapes this week, and it's a little tricky making sure you get the right size. So just to be sure, I did a little bit bigger than what I thought I needed, and you'll see, it'll work out. So here's my page, having some thoughts about layout. Okay, as you can see, there's a little bit of this nice kind of tealy blue in this background paper, and so I grabbed a die that's fairly new, the mannequin die. I believe I've shown you this before or worked with it in some manner. I do have a card I can share with you that I'll pop up on the screen here. That I made with the mannequin, but also I made a very masculine card with this, so I'll pop both of those up there. Anyway, this mesh kind of thing is great for backgrounds. You can tear it and, you know, collage it and stuff. And another bonus is all the little bits that come out of the inside of those holes you can save and use for like shaker cards. So that's something. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to put that over there, maybe, and then I have this film strip, and quite honestly, no photos are going in there. There might be a little bit of journaling in there, but the film strip die comes from an old one, the Planner film strip set. It says right here 1656. You get these little photo frames, a fold over clip, and then all of this, which I've used a good many times in previous projects. But I thought that that would look cool, just kind of overlapping that a little bit. I might pop the squares back in, some of them not, and do a little bit of, not journaling necessarily, but just maybe labeling, and you'll see. Okay, of course we have to have our 26, and just in case you're wondering what papers I have cut these things from, this is 49 and Market's Tranquility, the Colored Foundations collection pack. So it has a lot of solids and just very neutral backgrounds rather than the big prints. And I was already using that for my planner class in Illinois, so I thought that would tie in nicely with that and with my background. So I went ahead and grabbed one of the sheets out of the paper and cut my 26. So I've got that. That's a given, has to be here. And then I grabbed the hexagons. These are from Yoset. The fitted hexagons. Okay, there's more, of course. There's one, And there's another. So there's a whole bunch, and you can definitely nest them. As you'll see, I'm going to do something a little bit different, because when you nest them, they still have quite a bit of a gap, like more than 1/8 of an inch in between, which I feel like is maybe a little too wide for what I want to do. So you'll see how we get around that. But my thought is I will have one big like main photo, and I want them to go this way, right? And maybe this one will go up here. So we have this kind of action with our eye. I got some rub-ons over here in case I want to do a little something, like I feel like perhaps something under the 26. And there's a really nice compatible blobby rub-on right there. But I do have some others to consider as well, just little bits and scraps that I've had left over from different collections. So just wanting you to see where my thoughts are going here. And then I have this one stamp. This is from, gosh, another old one. I hope we still have this one. CS 119, the Reminders stamp set. This is when the planners kind of first came out, I think. It's one of the first few sets. So this one says like to do, not to do. And so I have something clever I'm going to put on there, and I may put that right about there, because we're going to camouflage this photo for a good reason in the end. Okay, what other elements? I think that's really it besides the rub-ons. So I'm going to get started here. Okay, so to back up a little bit, I'm going to cut these out with the hexagon die, but I'm not going to cut them out all the way through. First of all, the dies don't really cut through my photo paper all the way through, which is fine, because I don't want the die, of course, to cut out all the way through, because I don't want the photo to be exactly the same size as the hexagon I've already cut. I want it to be just a little bit smaller. So what we'll do is we will take the dies that I had intended to use, and there's a third one over there, I told you. So what I did is I looked at the dies, figured out what size I wanted, and then I grabbed a Post-it note and I wrote down the measures that I needed my photos to be, at least minimum from this end to this end. And also making sure when I went to my photos, when I made the main area fit in there, the top and bottom also fit. So you have to kind of, you have to do a little figuring, a little math. Okay, so I went over to the die cutting machine and I did cut them out, and you can see it there, right? But it's not cut all the way through, and I really can't even pop it all the way through, which is a-okay. So now we're going to take a nice straight edge and a nice sharp craft knife, and I'm going to get way down close here, so let's get you down here with me. Okay, and I'm going to lay my ruler. This is not a fancy ruler, it's a close to my heart old ruler. Nothing fancy. It was cool at the time because we did a lot of stitching, and so there's a bunch of these holes that you can poke through. But it's a nice ruler because it does have metal in this edge, and that keeps you from cutting your ruler when you're doing anything with your knife here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that right off. Can y'all see? I'm going to cut that off, and I'm just lining up my ruler with that line that's already there. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to do the same thing, about the same distance. Just making sure my ruler is lining up with the angle. And I can see I got a little bit of white here. I'll have to trim that. Now I'm eyeballing it. You could lay your ruler on the other side and get an exact measure, but there really is no exact measure on my ruler anyway between a 1/16 and an 1/8. So I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, and so when I go to lay this on here and check it, it looks really good. Just a tiny little bit of that peachy pink showing. I see a little bit of white on my photo. I'll probably fix that. But you get the gist, right? It shows the planner in there, and it shows all the pretty colors, and that's basically all it's about. So I'm going to do the same thing to this photo, and I got my third photo ready over there, and I'll be back. Okay, Cool, and there's our second one. Because this one had so much dark color in it, I had a hard time seeing the actual score from the die, so I just flipped it over and cut it from the back side, and that worked out perfectly. All right, here we go. So this little guy, you know, you could put the double-sided adhesive behind here before you cut this one out if you didn't plan to use the little bits inside for a shaker like I showed you earlier. You know, you wouldn't want to have your bits have the little double-sided adhesive plastic on the back. So I'm just gonna go through here with my Barely Art precision glue and work as quick as possible, mainly getting the sides and the bottom because I'm gonna overlap stuff, and maybe just hit a few places in the middle, but you know, just enough to get it where it's not going to peel up on me. Okay, I did ink around the edges, and I'm using frayed burlap just to keep it kind of subtle. So that's just kind of floating top to bottom, not going off any edges, but that's okay because we're going to take this guy next, and we're going to have this kind of stagger over and come off the bottom down here. I still have not decided, let's see, is there a direction to this? There are words in here, so I have not decided if I'm going to pop back in papers or just leave this as a treatment. We'll see. See, I like seeing through to that treatment back there. So I don't know if I'll pop anything back in there. You know what I've found with the Barely Art glue is sometimes you gotta hold it for a minute. Whereas with the art glitter glue, it seems to stick pretty immediately. There are some pluses and minuses to that, of course, to both. You know, sometimes you need a little extra time. And so this glue is good for that. But yeah, you got to be careful because see how I'm having to redo that there? Just make sure you get it good. Okay, I think we're good. Re-ink this bottom. Okay, looks good. All right, so I gotta stamp this little guy. And this is where I cut out the number 26, so I think I'm gonna use that, knowing that that coordinates. And just cut off a chunk here. Maybe that's too busy. Maybe another chunk over here. Okay. I'm just throwing stuff on the floor. It's okay. All right. Yep, that'll do right there. So this is my Misty, and have you guys been using these Sizzix sticky grids or whatever they're called? They're just tacky enough to hold your paper in place so you don't have to use the magnets. Because sometimes you have like a small area and you use the magnet, but the magnet gets in the way. See how that, and then you go to put a stamp on and you pull it up and the whole piece of paper comes with a stamp. That didn't happen. Before I commit to stamping, I want to try out different inks. This Twilight, it looks a little dark, so I'm just grabbing a different stamp and a scrap of that same paper, and that's pretty good. This is VersaFine Clair Twilight. I like that. I have, what is this one? Warm Breeze. Check that out. It might be a little too tealy. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, I think it's that first one. You guys agree? All right, let's do that. Okay, looks good. I will say the only negative about this tacky grid sheet stuff is it does leave a sticky residue on the back of your piece. A little bit of a problem for me sometimes, especially if I'm pre-stamping for a class. So, you know, you can, sometimes this is what I did actually for my class. I took one of these talc, you know, sometimes there's a little talc sacks, and I just rubbed that on the back of there to kind of remove a little bit of that. But you really have to wipe that down then so that your adhesive will work on the back of it. So I'm just using a very slightly damp baby wipe really, really quick, and I'll let that dry. But I'm just going to cut this out. Just eyeball it. And I might even get a little closer than that. We'll see how this looks. But the idea here is I'm going to write my to-do for the week and my not to-do. My to-do is going to be kit, 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 or cut, 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 cut. And not to-do, sleep or relax. And then I've got another stamp over there that says labor of love that I'm going to add to the page somewhere. Because that's just what it is. It's a lot of work, but it really is just all part of the process. Okay, before we get too far, I have decided to pop those 3 back in, and I've picked the most you know, plain looking ones so it doesn't get too busy. Some of the other ones had a little bit of type and stuff here. So before I go any further, I want to put something behind my 26 here. So let me grab some of those rub-ons we had earlier and take a look. So this will be up here, this will be in here, and this will probably go here. And so these will go here, and this will go here, and my last photo will go there. So I'm putting all that back down because I want to see the color before I go putting something down. These, I don't know which one these, oh, these are from like the fall, whatever they called that, leaves. Falling leaves, something from last year or year before, 49 in Market. I kind of like this, but it's not quite pink enough. So let me look at these others. Okay, whoa, I like those. But look at what I found here. These pink kind of peachy doilies. I was going to put the butterfly there, but I think he's a little too distracting and distinct. So I think I like one of these doilies. Now these are from the Blush, this again, old Blush and Sage Rub-On Transfers, 49 in Market. I'm just happy to use some older stuff. You guys know how it is. And so just lay some plastic back here so I don't get this on my table. And I'll take that rub-on, and that's going to be lovely right there. Okay, where's my rub-on tool? A lot of people are going to ask me where I got it. It's old. I don't know. I've had it forever. But 49 in Market gives you a rub-on stick with every pack of rub-ons, so you don't have to have anything fancy. I know the camera's bouncing all over the place, right? Beautiful. Okay, you can fold that over or cut it off. I'm going to cut it. And now it'll be all over my scissors. That's okay. Ooh, that's pretty. I like that. All right, so how does our 26 look now? Definitely stands out way better. Pretty. And now we got that pink tied in with that. I like it. Do we need any more of that? Do we need any more rub-ons? I got these great little leaves over here I'm tempted to use because there's a little leaves in the paper. Well, we'll see. I'm going to save those for the end and see if I can work those in. I got a lot. Okay, I'll just put those aside for now. Okay, I'm still thinking about the rub-ons, so I'm going to go ahead and get my 26 on here. I have everything down. And I do have some journaling there, so I still need to add my Labor of Love stamp, which I haven't done yet. And I definitely want to put some rub-ons of these leaves. I think they're really pretty. We're going to do that. And again, with this glue, and especially with this slick like rub on underneath, yeah, look at that, it just came right off of there. You gotta be patient, you gotta hold it down. Or use different glue, I don't know. We'll see how that sticks. No, oh my gosh, let's try that again. See, you know, these things need to happen in front of you guys, because it happens to you and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Why does she make it look so easy? Well, it happens to me too. So we should start with the 6 anyway, so we know how much room we have. And now I've switched to art glitter glue. Let's see how that does. Not sure what's going on with the Barely art over there, why it did that. Kind of funny. Okay, well, it's not coming up yet. Okay, cool. I have to say that Rubons might be my favorite embellishment right now. Especially the 49 and Market ones. I don't know if you guys have used them, but oh my gosh, they're just so easy and beautiful. I buy them every time I buy a collection from 49 and Market. I always buy the Rubons. They are just amazing. Now let's see what happens when we go over this really bumpy area. I'm gonna flip this over. Do you see how sly I'm being over there? Let's see what happens. It may not work. This is why we try. It's very bumpy here. I've got the film strip, I've got those grid holes. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't come out and we cry. It worked. Look at that. I love it. And you see right through it. That's the coolest part, right? So, do we need any more? I've got a few more. I don't want to go crazy. It's really hard when I can't see down here, but maybe one more right there. Since we know that it works on the bumpy spot, I think I'll do one more. Right down here with this one. Kind of break up that intersection a little bit. All right, I'm going to work on this. And then I'll be back when it's all done, and then we'll talk about, like I said at the beginning, how I go about designing an entire planner for a class. All right, and I took a scrap of that same paper for my labor of love. That is stamped from the Craft Studio 2 set, CS 302, Craft Studio 2. There's all these different phrases down here that are great and all this wonderful stuff. I've shown this before and I will link it below, of course. And I didn't mention it, but I did use the stitched letters and numbers die, which I have continuously used throughout to do my number 26 there. I'm going to cut this a little closer. If you don't use these long, wonderful tonic scissors, they're really wonderful. If you don't have them yet, I would really recommend them. I use another pair for sewing, the black handled ones. These are the original red handled ones. But wow, are they really great for doing those long straight cuts if you have to do them by hand like that. Really nice. Okay, I'm just going to pop this on and the page will be done. And I think I want it to go right across there. So we're definitely going to go with what we know is working here, and that's the art glitter glue. Okay, looks pretty straight. Looks good. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to pop that into my planner. And I thank you for watching. If you want to stick around, we'll talk about how I design an entire planner, kind of my method, because there is a little bit of a method to my madness, and I'll try my best to explain how that's done. I will say that that's a little sneaky peek, and I put a temporary adhesive on here because I'm going to bring that photo around to the front, but there we go. All right, let's take a look at that other. So for example, I don't have the planner that I'm teaching in Illinois because the store has it, so I'm going to show you just a little bit of the summer planner class that I'm teaching online, the one that has all the all-inclusive kit to it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I will well, I can't really link it below. I can link to maybe a video that I did of it as a little teaser. I believe it's selling out pretty quickly. Maybe some scrapbook stores still have it. Just check with your local store because I know Elizabeth Craft Designs has sold out since they have put it on their website. Anyway, you get the paper pack, you get the die, and then you get the stamp. And so what I do when I begin, because you know there's how many papers in here? 12 double-sided sheets with your one bonus sheet here. So rather than, back in the day, I used to take all these out and lay them on the floor. Now, in some collections, you have 2 of each piece of paper, which is great. You can flip one over to the other side so you can see what's on the back. And then you have one to lay next to it that has, you know, the other side showing up. Well, when you have just one piece of paper per design in your pack like this, that gets a little tricky. So what I do as a designer is I take a quick, I mean these are not really good photos, but I take a really quick photo with my phone, and then I go into Photoshop and I bring all of these together. Upside down. Okay, and so, you know, I know that these 2 papers, that's one paper. That's the front, that's the back, or vice versa. Okay, and so I have a quick visual, small, single sheet reference right in front of me when I'm designing, so I remember what's on the back side and what I'm going to need. Okay, and from there, this is the harder part to explain, is then what? Well, I would begin with all the page dies first, the base pages. And how do I decide on that? Pretty much every sheet in here became a base page unless it was a cut apart page. So right away I start to eliminate any of the pages that have several cut aparts. Now this one, I probably would not use this for a full page die, right? Because although this side is nice and solid, if you are showing the other side, you're going to have a partial of all these little cut aparts. So that would not be a page die. This would not be a page die. And so forth. Now this one is collage-y, so I'll show you how I worked with that one. But there are a couple other cut apart pages like this one, just like the other one. I would not use that for a page die. And here's another one. I used almost all of these cut aparts in the project, but this is really nice and neutral, so I did use a little bit of that backside for certain things. So right away I can eliminate 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets out of the whole collection. So that's good. You eliminate what you know you're not going to be able to use for a full page die. And then I just start looking at the paper. I might lay all these out on the floor. Even though I have my little sheet here, I want to see just what I have left and what really speaks to me for like an intro dashboard page, let's say. And I would just start there. I would start with what I like the best, what's going to be that intro to the planner, and that's exactly what I did here. I loved this collage-y image so much that it had to be my dashboard, and so there it is. Yes, I added other things to it from the cut aparts and using the stamp set and things like that, but that is how I begin, and then I just work my way through all the papers and just start making decisions. Which side do I like? Which side's going to be facing forward and back and so forth. And then it gets down to the smaller bits and pieces and details, like you got to leave some of these solid pieces of paper for your photo mats, right? So I would avoid those areas when I'm cutting page dies. Let's say, for example, this page right here. So you've got all this dark blue space over here, right? Well, that might be a good place to pull your photo mats from. So I wouldn't cut anything from there. I just focus on this over here like I did. And I'm not going to show you the whole planner, of course, because this is an online class for those who paid for it. But then I start moving to smaller and smaller pieces. So I would go to the die then and look at hole reinforcements. I would go to the stamp set and decide what I want to stamp. But you know, we have all these little die pieces that I wait until the end to see what I have left after cutting the page dies and the cut aparts and the bigger things. Okay, so other than that, then there's stamping and filling in and such. Okay, so I hope that that sort of explains the process. I hope I didn't make it sound too easy. You know, it does take some time, a lot of time to plan it all out. I also, which is key, make sure I have at least 2 more paper packs when I'm designing in case I decide I don't like something. Then I have to eliminate that whole sheet altogether and go pull from a new pack so I don't get confused and add extra things. I have to pull anything I've cut from that paper when I make a change and put it all aside and start with a fresh page, just so everything is accurate. Of course, as I'm designing and going along, I need sometimes a little reminder for myself. So I'll grab my phone and I will remind myself, how did I cut this out of this particular piece of paper? If I stick something down on the planner, I'm using adhesive, like permanent adhesive, where I can't peel it up and see, oh, wait, what was on the back of that? Or if I use this side as opposed to that side, I need to know, where did that come from? So I'll do a little picture of both sides of the paper to remind myself. Same thing here, same thing here when I cut things apart. So I do this for myself and then print it out on a sheet as well, and it's super helpful. I have finally learned these little tricks after designing class after class after class over time. So hopefully that helps. You know, it's just a little interesting tidbit to add to the end of this video. So I will see you next week. I will be getting ready for Illinois. I leave in the middle of next week, not this week, but I will have time to do my video before I go, and I hope everybody has a happy 4th here in the US of A. It'll be part of my page for sure. All right, thank you everybody for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next week.